To understand the jungle scene with towering palm trees, we must first abandon the romanticized notion of a flat, walkable forest. The ground level, or the forest floor, is not really a floor at all. It is a dimly lit, humid crypt, a place of decomposition that serves as the engine for the immense life above. Standing here, looking up at these palm trees that can reach heights of over 200 feet taller than a 15-story building, you are looking at the end result of one of the most brutal biological arms races on the planet, the race for. In temperate forests, sunlight reaches the ground. You can have a picnic. But in a dense jungle, less than 2% of the sunlight that hits the canopy ever reaches your eyes at ground level. This is the fundamental constraint that shapes everything. The towering palm trees you see aren't just there because they like the view. They are there because their ancestors failed to reach the light and died. Every inch of that tall, scaly trunk represents a victory over thousands of other seedlings that sprouted and perished in the shade. Let's talk about the specific architecture of these giants. When we look at a palm tree, we often think of it as a tree in the traditional sense. But botanically, palms are fascinating anomalies. They are monocots, more closely related to grasses and lilies than to oaks or pines. This means they don't grow thicker each year like a hardwood tree. An oak tree gets wider and stronger as it ages, laying down rings of structural wood. A palm tree, however, grows from a single terminal bud at the very top, often called the heart of the palm. It literally stretches upward from one central point. This is why palm trees are so flexible. If you've ever seen footage of a hurricane hitting a coast, you'll notice that palm trees are often the last ones standing while the oaks and pines have snapped in half. The palm's trunk is a bundle of fibrous vascular bundles, think of them, like thousands of tiny, flexible straws bound together with lignin. This allows the tree to sway dramatically without breaking. This structural integrity is the sole reason they can achieve such towering heights in storm-prone jungle environments. A rigid tree would shatter under the wind load. A palm tree bends, dances, and survives. But this unique structure creates a specific danger because the palm grows from a single point. If that central bud is damaged, the entire tree dies. There is no backup plan. This is why you see so many palms with damaged or missing crowns. Lightning strikes, high winds, or even a heavy load of epiphytes, plants that grow on other plants, can snap the crown, leaving a dead trunk standing like a ghost in the jungle. And this is where our opening hook comes into full focus. The primary hazard of the jungle floor isn't the jaguar you might see on a nature documentary. It's the widowmaker. In logging and forestry terms, a widowmaker is any detached branch or treetop that is hanging up in the canopy, waiting for a gust of wind to send it down. With palm trees, the stakes are higher. A single palm frond can weigh over 50 pounds and is equipped with a sharp, woody stem. When these fall from 150 feet, they hit the ground with the force of a falling spear. Indigenous peoples and experienced jungle trekkers have a saying, always look up before you sit down. The data on jungle fatalities supports this. In regions like the Amazon and Southeast Asian rainforests, a significant percentage of injuries and deaths are caused by falling branches and trees, not animal attacks. The palm tree, the icon of tropical paradise, is statistically one of the most lethal objects in its environment. This constant state of decay and renewal creates a unique habitat on the floor. The fallen trunks become highways for insects and armadillos. The decaying leaf litter feeds the fungi, which in turn feed the trees through complex root networks. The towering palm, therefore, is not just a plant. It is a vertical ecosystem, a skyscraper of life that begins its cycle of death and rebirth the moment it stretches towards the sky. It dominates the landscape not through brute force, but through a precarious and dangerous form of architectural genius that keeps everything below it in a state of perpetual alert. Leaving the dim, and dangerous forest floor behind, let us ascend. Let us climb the equivalent of a 20-story building, using nothing but the rough, textured bark of this palm trunk. As we rise, the air changes. The humidity drops slightly, and the temperature fluctuates. We are entering the canopy, the layer of the jungle that houses 90% of the planet's biodiversity. And these towering palm trees are the load-bearing pillars of this hidden world. From the ground, a palm tree looks like a single entity. But from the perspective of an ecologist, each palm tree is a floating island, a bustling metropolis moving through an ocean of air. Look closely at the trunk. It is covered in epiphytes ferns, orchids, and bromeliads that have hitched a ride to escape the dark forest floor. They don't harm the tree, they simply use its height to access the light and moisture that is scarce below. A single mature palm can support hundreds of individual epiphytic plants, each one creating a tiny water reservoir, a home for tree frogs and insects. Now, reach the crown. This is where the magic happens. The crown of a tall palm tree is not just a collection of leaves. It is a solar panel array designed for maximum efficiency. The fan-like or feather-like structure of the fronds is engineered to capture diffuse light from all angles while allowing wind to pass through with minimal resistance. This is critical for survival at these heights, where wind speeds are significantly higher than at ground level. The leaves are also covered in a waxy cuticle to prevent water loss, because believe it or not, up here it can get quite dry and windy. But the true function of the crown, biologically speaking, is reproduction and defense. Hidden within these massive leaves are the flowers and fruits. Depending on the species of palm, whether it's the towering Moric palm of South America or the coconut palm of the tropics, the fruit it produces is the lifeblood of the canopy community. Consider the data on the March's palm, often called the tree of life in the Orinoco Basin. Its fruit is a staple for macaws, parrots, monkeys, and even fish when it falls into the water. The crown provides nesting sites for birds and roosting spots for bats. When the palm flowers, it releases a scent that can travel for miles, attracting specific pollinators, often beetles or bees, that have co-evolved with that exact species of palm for millions of years. This vertical city is not a peaceful utopia, however. It is a high-stakes environment. The monkeys swinging through these palms are not playing, they are foraging, and they are constantly aware of predators. Harpy eagles, one of the most powerful birds of prey on Earth, specifically hunt the canopy. They use the height of emergent trees, those that stick out above the rest, which are often these tall palms, as lookout posts. From this vantage point, they can spot a sloth or a monkey from a kilometer away. The palm, therefore, is a military installation. It provides the high ground for both the hunter and the hunted. The leaves rustle with the movement of invisible life. Tiny geckos dart across the surfaces, hunting the insects that are attracted to the rotting fruit. Ants march in columns along the veins of the leaves, farming scale insects for honeydew. The sheer biomass living on a single tree is staggering. Studies involving canopy fogging, where scientists release a biodegradable insecticide into the canopy of a single tree and collect everything that falls, have revealed that a single tropical tree can be home to over 1,000 species of insects. The towering palm, in this context, becomes a keystone structure. Its physical presence dictates the biology of the area for hundreds of meters around. If this palm falls, the ecosystem in the sky collapses. The birds lose their nesting sites. The epiphytes die on the ground, and the insects lose their host. The palm is not just a participant in the jungle, it is an architect, creating the very conditions that allow the jungle's diversity to exist. As we hang here, swaying gently in the breeze, we realize that this scene of serene beauty is actually a chaotic, crowded, and hyper-competitive vertical world that makes any human city look sparse in comparison. As the sun dips below the horizon and the last rays of light filter through the massive palm fronds, a fundamental shift occurs in the jungle scene. The towering palms, which were merely structural elements in the daylight, transform into silhouetted sentinels against a deepening violet sky. The sounds change. The diurnal chorus of birds and monkeys fades into a new eerie symphony of insects, chirps, frog croaks, and the occasional distant howl. This transition is not just a change in lighting, it is a complete change in atmospheric and biological conditions. And the palm tree is uniquely equipped to handle this nocturnal shift. During the day, the palms were engaged in photosynthesis, converting sunlight into energy. But at night, they respire, releasing some of the carbon dioxide they captured. This creates a measurable change in the microclimate directly around them. The air beneath a cluster of tall palms often has a higher humidity and a slightly different gas composition than the surrounding savanna or forest edge. This attracts nocturnal insects, which in turn attracts the creatures that feed on them. Now look at the bark of the palm under the moonlight. It looks rough, scaly, and full of crevices. These aren't just aesthetic features, they are microhabitats. During the night, these crevices become highways for nocturnal hunters. Scorpions emerge from hiding spots at the base to hunt on the trunk. Tarantulas, which often burrow at the roots of large palms, may venture up a few feet to ambush passing prey. The structure of the palm provides the perfect launching pad for ambush predators. Furthermore, the fruit that ripened during the day doesn't stop being attractive just because the sun went down. Bats are now the primary dispersers. Fruit bats, or flying foxes, are drawn to the large, sweet-smelling drupes of the palm. They locate the trees by scent, by memory, using the towering silhouette as a landmark in the dark. As they feed, they scatter seeds across the landscape, often dropping them in clearings or riverbanks where they can germinate. The palm, therefore, uses the night shift to spread its progeny. But the relationship goes deeper. Consider the temperature. The jungle floor cools down at night, but the canopy retains heat longer because it is closer to the open sky and then radiates that heat back down. The dense clustering of palm fronds at the top of these trees can trap a pocket of warm air. This thermal shelter is critical for nocturnal animals like kinkajous, opossums, and night monkeys. They sleep during the day in tree holes but emerge at night to feed. The palm canopy provides a relatively warmer and safer highway for them to move from one feeding site to another without descending to the cold, predator-filled ground. The data on primate behavior shows that some nocturnal primates rarely, if ever, descend to the ground, spending their entire lives in the canopy layer created by trees like palms. The palm, therefore, is not just a resting spot, it is the floor of their world. As midnight approaches, the wind often picks up. The tall palm trees begin to sway. This swaying motion creates a unique sound of deep, resonant creaking and rustling. This is the sound of the tree's biology at work. The fibrous trunk is flexing, testing its limits. This movement also serves to shake loose any debris or heavy rainwater that might accumulate on the leaves, protecting the tree from physical damage. In this way, the palm is a dynamic, moving sculpture, even in the stillness of the night. Standing in a clearing, looking up at these giants under a starry sky, you feel a sense of ancient time. These trees have stood through countless nights, through storms and droughts, watching the constellations wheel overhead. They are living monuments, and the night is their time to breathe, to interact with the nocturnal world, and to prepare for the return of the sun that fuels their incredible rise toward the heavens. The atmosphere changes. The air becomes thick and heavy, charged with static electricity. The towering palm trees, which have been basking in the sun, now face their greatest test, the storm. Few sights in nature are as dramatic as a tropical jungle during a torrential downpour, with wind speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. And the palm trees are at the very center of this elemental battle. We have already discussed how their fibrous, flexible trunks allow them to sway, but let us look at the physics of this survival in real-time data. A palm tree in a storm is essentially acting as a shock absorber. As the wind pushes against the large crown of leaves, the trunk bends. But instead of resisting the force like a rigid beam which would snap, The palm's trunk allows the crown to be pushed downwind, reducing the surface area exposed to the wind. The leaves themselves are designed to tatter and fold. You will often see palm fronds looking shredded after a big storm. This is a feature, not a bug. By allowing the wind to tear the leaves, the tree prevents the wind from having a solid sail to push against. It sacrifices a few leaves to save the entire tree. But the battle isn't just happening in the air. It is happening underground. To support a 200-foot structure in soft, often waterlogged tropical soil, a palm tree needs an incredible anchor. Unlike the deep taproots of an oak, palms have a fibrous root system that spreads out horizontally like a mat just below the surface. This mat can extend far beyond the width of the canopy. These roots are relatively thin but incredibly numerous and strong. They bind together the soil, creating a dense network that holds the tree upright and prevents it from toppling in the soft mud. This root mat also serves a critical ecological function during the storm: water absorption and erosion control. The jungle floor receives inches of rain in a single hour. The palm's root system acts like a sponge in a net, holding the soil in place so it doesn't all wash away into the rivers. The trunk itself becomes a river of water during the rain. The grooves and leaf bases channel water down the trunk, directing it straight to the root zone. This is called stem flow, and it is vital for the tree's hydration. The water that runs down the trunk is often richer in nutrients and minerals than the rain that falls in the open, as it collects dust, pollen, and organic matter from the bark and leaves along the way. During the peak of the storm, the jungle becomes a place of refuge. The space under the massive leaves of a large palm, especially species like the traveler's palm or the sable palm, can offer a surprising amount of shelter. Birds huddle against the trunk on the leeward side. Monkeys crouch in the crown, wrapping their bodies around the branches to ride out the wind. The insects go silent. For a brief moment, the jungle pauses, held in the grip of the storm, and the palm trees are the anchors that keep the entire ecosystem from being swept away. As the storm passes and the rain lightens to a drizzle, you see the aftermath. The ground is littered with green leaves, not just palm fronds, but leaves from other trees that couldn't withstand the wind. The palm stands tall, perhaps a bit more ragged, but alive. This resilience is the key to their dominance. The data on forest regeneration after hurricanes consistently shows that palm species often have the highest survival rates. They are the pioneers that stabilize the environment after a disturbance. The water dripping from the tips of their leaves creates a rhythm, a post-storm symphony. Puddles form at their bases, becoming temporary breeding grounds for mosquitoes and tiny frogs. The entire jungle resets, refreshed and cleaned, thanks to the structural integrity of its tallest residents. The towering palm tree, having weathered the assault, now stands dripping in the weak post-storm sunlight, a testament to millions of years of evolutionary engineering designed specifically to turn the destructive force of a tropical storm into a mere shower. We have journeyed from the deadly floor, through the bustling canopy, into the mysterious night, and through the fury of the storm. Now, we arrive at the final perspective, the legacy of the towering palm tree, and its relationship with the future, both its own and ours. Look at the base of these giants one more time. Scattered around them are the seeds of tomorrow. Depending on the species, this could be coconuts, date pits, or the hard nuts of the oil palm. Each one of these seeds contains the genetic blueprint to create another 200-foot giant. But their journey is perilous. We have seen how the palm relies on animals, bats, birds, monkeys, and even rodents to disperse these seeds. This is a symbiotic contract millions of years old. The animal gets a meal, and the tree gets a chance to move its offspring away from its own shade, where they would surely die. This is the ultimate data point of the palm's success, its ability to plan for the next generation. When you see a towering palm, you are not seeing an old tree. In many species, you are seeing a middle-aged one. Some palm species can live for centuries, continuously producing fruit and seeds year after year, ensuring that even if a catastrophic event wipes out a swath of jungle, its genetic line has already been scattered far and wide, waiting for the opportunity to rise again. But this scene is changing. The image of the towering palm against a pristine sky is becoming increasingly rare. Human activity is the new storm. In Southeast Asia and South America, towering palms are often the last trees left standing in a sea of cleared land, not because they are protected, but because they are too much trouble to cut down, or because they are specifically harvested for their hearts or their oil. The data on deforestation shows a stark reality. When we remove the jungle, we remove the context for the palm. A palm tree standing alone in a cattle pasture is no longer an ecosystem, it is a lonely statue. The monkeys, the birds, the epiphytes are gone. The tree might stand for a while, but without its animal partners to disperse its seeds, it becomes a biological dead end. Its towering height, once an advantage in the race for light, becomes a liability in an open field where wind has no canopy to break it, often leading to its toppling. The scene we have been exploring is not just a collection of plants, it is a network. The palm is the node, but the network is the jungle. As our journey ends, I want you to look at that final shot, a single, magnificent palm tree silhouetted against a golden sunset. It is beautiful. It is iconic. It is the symbol of paradise. But now you know the truth hidden in that beauty. You know about the silent falling hazards, the war for light, the city of life in its crown, the engineering that defies hurricanes, and the fragile legacy of its seeds. This knowledge transforms the view. The jungle scene with towering palm trees is a document of survival, a testament to time, and a warning about fragility. They are the skyscrapers of the natural world, and like our own skyscrapers, they require a city around them to have true meaning. The next time you see a picture of a palm tree, or God forbid, you find yourself walking beneath one, remember to look up. Look up not just in awe, but in understanding. See the flecks in the trunk, the life in the crown, and the shadows on the ground. And remember that you are standing in the presence of one of nature's most successful, most dangerous, and most vital creations. If this journey through the canopy changed the way you see the world around you, I need you to take one specific action right now. Don't just like this video. Don't just subscribe. I want you to go outside today, whether you live in a city or the countryside, and find a tree, any tree. Stand under it. Look up. Look at the bark. Look at the leaves. And spend just 60 seconds thinking about the war it fought to get that light, the ecosystem it supports, and the silent danger it might pose. Take a picture of your skyline through the branches and post it in the comments below. Let's build a forest of perspectives, because once you start seeing the world through the lens of the vertical wilderness, you realize that nature isn't something you visit on a weekend hike. It's something happening right above your head, every single second of every single day. Click that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join me next time as we descend into the next hidden world. Until then, keep looking up.